You really don't need endless hours to grow your creative business. I built mine in stolen pockets of time between my twins' naps, my eldest son's nursery drop-offs, and late nights. And somehow it's running better now than it ever did back when I had all the time in the world. I'm Meg, and I've grown a creative business that earns me an income, brings me so much joy, and helps other creatives grow their businesses too. So if you've ever felt like you don't have the time that everyone else seems to, let's draw a summer sticker sheet together and talk about finding a rhythm in your creative business that actually sticks. And as we draw, I'll be sharing plenty of tips, so stick around because you might just discover your new favourite hack when it comes to designing sticker sheets. If, like me, you've never fully paused your business, even when life got really full, then you'll probably know what it's like to juggle everything and still try to move forward. When our twins were born, I already had a toddler at home, and somehow, not sure how, I was still finishing a huge Christmas art installation for Dundee Council the day I got back from hospital. The twins arrived a little bit early, which is why I hadn't finished yet, but I managed to wrap up the illustrations and handed them over to my friends who managed all of the technical setup. I'm sketching this whole sticker sheet in Procreate on my iPad Pro 12.9 inch, which has nano glass technology. It's definitely not essential, but I really do love it. It's a bit of a luxury add-on, and I mainly got it to help with filming work. It cuts down on screen glare, and I can get those juicy film shots without any reflections. What I really love about it though is that it doesn't dull the colours the same way a screen protector or something like Paperlike would. Everything still looks really crisp and vibrant. Right now, I'm not really thinking about the final layout of the sticker sheet. I'm just getting my ideas down. Some of these sketches came from reference images and others were just floating around inside my brain. So I like to do a mix depending on the mood I'm in. So after that big art installation, I did step away from my business for a while, but not for that long. I was back at it during nap windows, late evenings, and any quiet moment I could find, which to be honest was quite difficult with twins and a toddler. Maybe you've been there too, juggling work, maybe caring for someone, or just navigating a season where your time doesn't feel like your own. Your pace is allowed to look different, and you don't need to compare your art business to someone else's because everyone is carrying something behind the scenes. But if a mum of twins and a toddler can make it work, so can you. It's really not about endless free time. It's about setting up small systems so that those little pockets become productive and actually lay the foundations for your business. In the past 2 years, I've shifted from trying to do everything in these tiny windows to focusing on the behind the scenes work that moves the needle, the kind of work that brings in sales automatically without needing to show up every single day. And if you want to dive deeper into the systems and strategies I've been building, then check out my podcast, Flourish, the Creative Business Podcast, where I share more on building a creative business in those micro moments without the burnout. I've done quite a few draw with me's by now, and in most of them, I use a mix of brushes from my own brush packs. The one I'm using here for the line art is called Nifty Nib, and it's from the Fizzy Toolbox brush pack. You'll find it linked in the description below. I really love adding texture to my illustrations, and this brush has just the right amount of grittiness for line work. It's got that slightly imperfect feel that makes things look a little bit more like traditional art. Another one that I often reach for in the same brush pack is called the Bristly brush. It's also great for line art if you like a softer textured look. For my art style, I've always leaned towards texture over super smooth lines. It just makes everything feel a little bit less digital. And for my line art, you'll notice I like to add these little touches like small dashes, thinner lines, tiny details that make the illustration a little bit more interesting to look at. You don't want to go overboard with these. Sometimes less is more, but it's such a great way to add depth in the shadow areas or give a little quirk and personality to the drawing. Let me quickly walk you through what I'm doing here and the brushes I'm using for the colouring stage. So before I sit down to properly enjoy the colouring process, I always like to plan my colours in a rough draft. I already had a pretty good idea of the palette I wanted to use for this sticker sheet, so this step was more about figuring out where those colours should sit on the page. What you'll notice is that I often zoom out just to make sure the colours are spread across the whole sheet. For example, I don't want all the reds, pinks or yellows clumped together in one corner. Planning it this way helps me balance everything so that the finished sheet feels harmonious at a glance. Now, for the actual colouring, I've been mixing up the brushes I used recently. I used to just block colours in with a flat brush, but lately I've been loving the extra texture. For the main colouring fill, I have been reaching for the Fizzy Fill from the Fizzy Toolbox brush pack. It's perfect for layering down colours with a bit of grit. Then I'll add more texture details using the Jagged Jolt and the Powerful Pencil from my colouring pencil case pack. This pack is full of realistic pencil textures, and I've been having so much fun experimenting with all the different effects. So while I keep drawing, I want to talk to you about how you can redefine consistency and why this small shift can make such a big difference. You might have thought that consistency means showing up all of the time, posting daily, staying visible, and always being on. But when your life is full, that version of consistency just doesn't work, and it can leave you feeling like you're failing. Here's what I've learned. Consistency isn't about frequency. It's about finding a sustainable pace that protects your love for creating. You don't have to build this all at once. Focus on one system, get it running until it feels like second nature, and then build on the next. That slow, steady approach is what helps you stay consistent without completely taking over your life. And while those systems have made a huge difference in how I work, there's another shift that's just as important, especially for your mindset. And that's learning how to stop comparing yourself to people who have more time, more help, or who are just in a totally different season than you. By the way, this is my little boy. He's 4 and already learning how to use Procreate. The only time he's allowed in my iPad is to have a go at colouring. Honestly, kids these days will never know the struggle of Microsoft Paint. Anyway, you know that feeling you're scrolling and suddenly you're convinced that you're not doing enough. Someone's launching new products, filming daily videos, and doing weekend markets too. And you're just here trying to get through your to-do list. If, like me, you've fallen into that comparison trap, you know how hard it can hit, especially when you see someone with full-time childcare or a whole team behind them. And yes, I will admit, I sometimes feel that pang of jealousy seeing just how much they can get done. But when I'm in a good headspace, seeing other creators succeed is actually the most inspiring thing. It shows what's possible. Look to them as your community, not your competition. But in reality, I'd be lying if I said I never wished I had their time. You never know the full story. I am so lucky to have 3 beautiful boys and a business that I can run in pockets of time. And I know that there are people watching me who feel that same pang about my life. If you ever find yourself in that spiral, I want to give you something actionable to take away from this video. Try finding an accountability partner, someone who gets it and can help you reset. 5 years ago, after I posted my first YouTube video in a small business group, someone messaged me to say they loved it and they asked if I could be their accountability partner. I said yes without even really knowing what that meant. It was just a DM. I'd never spoken to them before, but they put themselves out there and reached out, and that is what I'm suggesting to you. That person was Natalie. Since then, she's become my coach, my biggest cheerleader, and the one who can pull me out of that mindset fast. So if there's someone that you think would understand you, send them a DM. You never know how important they'll become in your life. When you stop comparing and start focusing on what you can do with the time you have, everything starts to shift. Let's talk about how you can start making progress in your creative business too, whether you're trying to grow or just feeling too overwhelmed to even get started. Because I promise you can build something meaningful even with just a few hours a week. The key is to use the time you have with intention. It's not about cramming in as much as possible. It's about focusing on the things that will actually move you forward. Start by asking yourself, what is one thing I can do this week that will still matter a month from now? That might be something like filming a piece of evergreen content. For you, it could be setting up new product listings or finally applying to those in-person markets. These are the kind of tasks that brings in future income or keeps working for you long after you hit publish. You don't need a perfect plan or a 40-hour work week to see progress. Yes, you'll move faster with more time, but slow growth is better than no growth. Pick one priority at a time, give it your full attention, and let the rest wait. Here, you're going to see me colouring all the shadows using the Jagged Jolt and Powerful pencil brushes. I'm just using a purple on the layer above, setting it to a clipping mask, and then changing the blending mode to multiply. That way I can create all the shadows with just one colour. It's such a simple trick, but it works so well. I actually put together a free blend mode guide that you can download from the description. Inside, I've gone over which colours work best on different backgrounds, plus I've included a Procreate tip sheet and best of all, a free Procreate brush called the Crispy Quill. It's totally free, so grab it below if you'd like to try it out. If you stay consistent with even a tiny amount of time each week and you're choosing those tasks that actually matter, you will look back in 6 months' time and be amazed at what you've built. And once you start seeing that progress, even in tiny steps, something clicks. You realize that you can make this work even without endless hours in the day. So next, I want to share the one mindset shift that's helped me stick with it long term, even when life feels full and messy, because this is the part that actually keeps me going. For me, the biggest mindset shift has been letting go of the idea that you need to do it all to be successful. I used to think that every spare moment had to be productive. Like if I wasn't drawing, posting, emailing, or creating something, I was somehow falling behind. But that kind of pace isn't just unsustainable, it is exhausting. Don't get me wrong, some seasons will require hustle, like when you're prepping for a launch, but long-term hustle leads to burnout. These days, I focus on foundational work, the behind the scenes systems that keeps the business running even when I'm not in it every day. That means automations, building offers, improving my sales pages, the kind of work that compounds over time and keeps the business growing. It doesn't mean giving up the fun parts like creating, it just means releasing the pressure to be everywhere all of the time. Now I use the time that I do have to build systems that support me, which then leaves room for me to enjoy being creative. Because when your business fits your life and not the other way around, it doesn't burn you out. So this next stage of the sticker sheet might look a little bit strange at first, but trust the process. There's a reason I'm outlining everything in black here. You just saw me draw around each sticker. That outline acts as the cut line for my Cricut. I'm just using the default calligraphy pen for this. I draw around wherever I want the machine to cut, and this black line sits on the layer beneath the original cut line. This black outline works as a bleed line, which is super helpful, especially if you're using a background color that isn't white. It helps avoid any of the background color accidentally showing on the edges of your stickers if your machine cuts even a millimeter off. Now I'm only using black here so that it contrasts clearly with the original cut lines I drew. Once I'm done outlining, I'll alpha lock the layer and use a big brush to recolor the entire thing to make it match the exact color of the sticker cut line. That way, once it's printed and cut, you've got a little visual buffer around each sticker that helps everything look clean. I actually get my sticker sheets manufactured now. I just couldn't keep up with printing and cutting them myself at home. I'd have needed to have multiple Cricuts and I just don't have the time for that right now. But I did make them myself for years, and if I was still doing that now, this is exactly how I'd set it up. If you want a really detailed breakdown of the entire process from start to finish, I have a full sticker sheet tutorial linked below that covers everything. But for the stuff I'm using in this video, I print on Evergreen Goods premium matte white sticker paper. It's super soft, durable, and I've used it for years. I also have the Epson EcoTank 2876 for printing, and then the Cricut Explore Air for cutting. And when the Cricut behaves and isn't being flung out the window by me, I have a perfectly cut summertime sticker sheet. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's that you don't need endless hours or a perfectly clear calendar to build something that lasts. You can start small and work in micro moments. Just remember, the business I have today wasn't built overnight, and it definitely wasn't built in perfect circumstances. But with the right systems and a little bit of strategy, you can create something sustainable, something that fits your life instead of constantly fighting against it. If you enjoyed this chat and want to go deeper into the behind the scenes of how I run my creative business and how you can start or grow your own, come and listen to my podcast, Flourish, the Creative Business Podcast. I share loads more about the systems, the structures and strategies I use to build a creative business in snippets of time, and how you can sell your artwork in a way that doesn't burn you out. And if you loved this draw with me, you can watch this one that's popped up on screen, where I take you through my entire drawing process in Procreate from start to finish.